Bars in a rain, man, I go hard like Santan.
Yes, people, what is good? Welcome back to another episode of Eurofracas. This is the NSO edition. We took a brief hiatus last week, but we're back with another episode this week. At the time of recording, France and Portugal are currently locked in a, I don't want to say boring, but not the best football match. 0-0, second half of extra time coming up. And I'm joined by two NSO regulars, man. NSO alumni. Scott Hall, what are you saying? How are you?
Hey, man. I'm just trying to be calm because one of my brothers, I'm not going to say too much, but he's been losing it of late. You know, I don't know why, but in our chat, we're just trying to keep him calm. But man, I vex every single day. We don't know why, but man, I bless. Scott Hall,
Is that brother by some chance in this very same podcast?
Man, don't snitch me. And I know who you talk about.
Cool. Mr. Ibiza, GQ, what are you saying?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good.
You enjoyed yourself in Ibiza, yeah?
Yeah, recharged.
Yeah,
recharged,
Blue Marlin, Pikes, Ushuaia. You're doing baby boy lifestyle in Ibiza, yeah?
Was you skanking in there? Was you doing funky house, yeah?
Yeah, I was doing my bit, man.
Man said I was doing my bit.
I was doing my bit, man.
Listen,
doing tacticals, yeah? Every day 4:14.
Yeah.
Oh shit, he's taking. Guys, big news. Obviously, we'll touch on it. We'll come back to this game, but Deschamps is taking off Mbappe.
Mm-hmm.
He's taking off Mbappe in the halftime, in extra time. Barcola's come on. João Felix is coming on for Portugal. But let's see if he has any cojones. I'm talking about Roberto Martinez. Let's see if this is for Ronaldo. Nope, it's not for Ronaldo. I'm just waiting.
It's not going to be for Ronaldo.
It's for Leao.
Yeah, it's not for Ronaldo. So, but João Felix is coming on. João Felix is coming on. We'll get the actual player who's been subbed off for him shortly. But guys, let's get into the football, man. Let's get into the football. Obviously, it's been a fairly busy week for Tottenham, but I want to focus on Euro 2024 first. Then we'll finish off with Tottenham towards the end. And I'm going to talk about the game that we've already watched, the game that's actually finished, that was played today. France is still playing right now, sorry. Germany versus Spain. Spain won 2-1. Spain are through to the Euro 2024 semi-finals. Won the game in extra time, courtesy of a Mikel Moreno header. I'll start off with you, Tops. Was your expectation for Spain to knock out Germany today before a ball was kicked?
Was it my expectation? No, it wasn't. It wasn't. I thought it was probably going to be an evenly fought sort of match. I felt like both teams have kind of performed quite well so far, more so Spain in the tournament. And I felt like to get this kind of a big hit sort of clash as early as the quarterfinals, it's good for the tournament. But I certainly didn't think that it was going to be a Spain or an easy or routine Spain victory. And in the end, they ended up nicking it right at the end. So it was probably they just edged it, in my opinion, which I thought was probably about right. But there was lots in the game that was actually quite positive. I felt like both teams really did go for it. I felt like it did actually have more of a final feel to it. Both teams really did go end to end at times. They both made sort of really good sort of changes which impacted the game. And yeah, honestly, it was a game that I would say they just about nicked and will probably value for the win after extra time, really.
Yeah, you made a good point, which I'm gonna come to you on, Yao. I want to focus on Germany. Obviously today, Leroy Sané. I want to get your thoughts on his performance, and I want to get your thoughts on the entire Germany attack, because it looked like an end-to-end game in the first half, but weirdly enough, it felt like Kai Havertz was probably the best performer in a Germany shirt today of all their attackers. Well, until Florian Wirtz came on anyway. But talk to me, man. What were your thoughts on Germany's attack today?
Well, you're right. Havertz arguably was probably their best of the attackers. You know what? Honestly, I felt like this was the kind of game where Germany needed to start Fulcrum, because I felt like they could cause Spain problems. For me personally, I felt Spain were better suited to win the game, if you want my honest opinion. I felt like Germany's best chance of winning this particular game was to, at the very least, try their hardest to stop Spain from scoring. That might have been, sit in a deep block, catch them on a counter attack, but they didn't really have the pace once they took certain people off, or they didn't start certain personnel to work like that. So Spain taking the lead obviously caused Germany problems, but the problem is Kai Havertz was, arguably their best attacker, but Jesus, finishing is not this guy's bag, is it?
Shocking.
Just wheelhouse. Everything else looks, relatively good. If they had gone with the lad from Dortmund, we could be looking at Germany in the semi-finals. To be honest with you, I felt like the chances that fell to Kai, if they'd fallen to the lad Fulcrum, I felt like he probably would have at least bagged one or two of them. And it was unfortunate, obviously, later on in the game if we get further on into the conversation with that. But I do agree with you. It was back and forth, and to be honest with you, it came down to, especially in that first half, it came down to who could get their shots on target, and were more clinical with the chances. And as you see, Dani Olmo, a player that we've been heavily linked with, a player that we've had a lot of stocks in. Great finish. That's what you talk about, taking your chance, because Neuer is he's not an easy keeper to beat. And, he didn't have to put it in the corner, just hit it early, hurled it through. Great finish. Kai, on the other hand, a lot of guilty chances that he really, really should have done better with.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, to be honest. And I want to stay on Dani Olmo, and I want to continue speaking on Olmo as well, because he actually came on as a substitute in this game. Pedri started the match, and unfortunately for him, his match was cut short pretty early into the game. Went off with apparently a sprain in his knee or something like that, and he's not going to play again this tournament. But I must say, to be able to bring on Dani Olmo off the bench and the impact that he had on Spain today, I thought he was great. I think, Tops, you made a really good point about how open the game was. And I don't know, talk to me about like Spain's offensive prowess as well, because for me, it felt like both teams, they were going for the game, but it felt like both teams, the decision-making in the final third was not to scratch. And Dani Olmo, once he got it right in the second half, obviously he made the difference.
Yeah, like the game, it did have this knockout feel to it, in the sense that both teams were very quite open. And when you look at like the way both attacks set up, Spain, they had a traditional sort of centre forward in Morata, and obviously they had what would be like two natural wide players in Lamau and Williams. And honestly, they were very good at utilizing them whenever they could get the ball out to them, which they obviously did for the first goal. But what I thought was interesting was that once Pedri came off, obviously Pedri and Olmo are not like, I wouldn't say they are like for like in terms of their positions and profiles. I would definitely say Olmo is definitely more attacking minded. And what I found during the game was that he was taking up lots of areas, lots of little holes in and around Chan and Cruz, and I felt like he was pushing them a lot further back, whilst he was leaving Morata to occupy the spaces that a natural nine would. And I felt that even right up until the way that he set up the final goal, he was pulling. At times, I felt like he was pulling their central midfielders left, right, through the middle in areas that maybe they didn't really want to go to. I felt like Andrich, Cruz, Andrich. Well, Andrich. No, it was Andrich who definitely lost him for the first goal, and it was one of the other midfielders that lost Moreno for the second goal. So I felt like even though they didn't really use their attack in the way that they probably have in the tournament, I felt like today the game was a bit open, so it did allow for a lot more space for people like Olmo, for Williams, for Lamar to get on the ball in areas that could really affect Germany. You know, in many respects, Morata had a really quiet game, didn't really get involved, or there wasn't really impacting the game as much as he probably wanted to, and obviously was subsequently subbed. But it really does sort of bore to the importance of obviously having good squad depth as well, to have a player of almost quality to come in and to affect the game with a goal and assist, but also a general all-round performance as early as he came on is really quite positive. So I'd say from an attacking perspective, whilst they didn't really have to worry or rely on, say, a Morata or a Lamar or Williams today, they really could lean on that squad depth and the player quality that they had in someone like Olmo.
Fair enough, man. I'd also like for you to add some more bass in your voice, man. Jeez, Louise, you're sounding so depressed. You've just come back from holiday. Like, is this holiday blues? Have some bass in that voice, man.
Do you know what? I'm watching this France Portugal game, and it's not moving me one bit, man. Even in extra time, it's not moving me, man.
Yeah.
Well, are you hurt because obviously you've got French in your bloodline? I heard they call you Le Topé. I hope. Are you upset because the French team are letting you?
Hi, I'm glad we've got Coach Dave on just in time, so I can talk to him about his claim to fame. Yeah, whenever we're in chat, he never says Musiala. Have you not noticed that? He always says Jamal. He always says Jamal because he wants everyone to know. I got the inside scoop on Jamal Musiala. He used to be one of my students. So Dave, we're gonna let you talk about Musiala because I actually want you to cover off the Battle of the Star Boys today, because I want you to cover off Musiala, Yamal, and Wirtz. Could you just give us a rundown on their performances today, and obviously who you felt shone or stood out the most? In fact, you know what? Include Nico Williams there as well.
Yeah. Wow. We were on a run. The Jamal hype train was on a run, man. I was telling everyone, he's on track to be up there, talked about in a few years' time as one of the best players in the world. And this was his tournament. I remember a few years ago, obviously, Germany got knocked out quite early on. Even though he didn't have a bad tournament there, he just didn't have the requisite team around him. They were getting a bit old. They needed to build a team around him, which is what Nagelsmann said he was going to do. And he did that. Started off strong. He was getting amongst the goals. But today, he just didn't have it. He had an absolutely shocking game. And I'm not too proud to state it, man. The kid just, he didn't do it, man. And if you're talking about Battle of the Star Boys, the 16-year-old outshone him. The thing with Yamal, the Lamine, is it? I don't know how they actually pronounce it in Spain.
Lamine
Yamal. The thing that about him, and I even give him this in if you're gonna compare the two, is that as soon as he gets into the final third, and this is what I've noticed in the past couple of games I've watched him, everything he does is intentional, and he very rarely makes a mistake. He very rarely makes a mistake in the final third. So what I mean by that, you're always going to get a decent cross from him. You're always going to get a very well executed cutback. There's no chaos factor. Like a player like a Doku who will beat three players and it's like, okay, something might happen, but I don't know what. With everything seems like, okay, wherever the ball ends up, that's where I wanted it to be. If it's a shot, if it's a cross, if it's a drag back, whatever it is, even if he wins a corner, it's very, very intentional. It's a very high IQ approach to the game. I don't know if that's a Barcelona thing. It could be because we know what type of player they produce. We see it all the way through their academy over the past 20 odd years. the IQ, the reading of the game from a very young age. So today it wasn't a great day for Jamal, and Yamal had a great game in comparison. Even though he came off quite early, there's all that talk about how many minutes is he allowed to play as a 16-year-old in Germany.
What the hell was that as
not.
well? Yeah,
I don't know. There's some random rumor that surfaced on social media. We don't know whether it's true or not about the labor laws in Germany about how much under 18s are allowed to work. There are certain exemptions that they have. Whether it's true or not, look, he did the business in 60 minutes, and the Spanish coach was confident enough to take him off. Nico Williams had a different role today. I've liked what I've seen on and off from him over the past 3-4 games. I've watched him actually quite intently, more so than Yamal in the Spanish games, because I was really interested to see what kind of profile winger he was, to borrow from how Tops analyzes players, when Top 8 gets into his scouting bag. I wanted to see what kind of profile he was. I like the fact he does use both feet. I love the fact that he likes to take his players on. The goal he scored in the last game was top notch. Today he had a bit of a different role. Today he was the outlet. Today he was receive the ball, make run. A bit like how Bernardo Silva is used for Man City. Get the ball, take it up the pitch. Can you win us a free kick? Can you just get us, into the next stage of transition? You may not get us into the final third, but if you do, fine. But he was operating in that middle third quite a bit, which is why I think he stayed on a bit longer. But he did what the doctor ordered, and he did his role very well. And obviously they ended up getting the win overall. And then Florian Wirtz, Nagelsmann said he was going to build a team around Musiala and Wirtz. Wirtz dropped out of the starting lineup. Interestingly, Musiala stayed in. And even though both Musiala and Wirtz ended up obviously playing a significant role towards the end of the game, Wirtz came on and made a difference. He's got a turn of pace which catch you off guard, because
I didn't realize it.
Yeah,
I didn't realize
you
got a little burst.
You don't expect that from certain people. Don't want to make it into a thing, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, he's got a turn of pace which is useful in certain kind of certain situations in the game. And he seemed to be the one that's making things tick. I think he suffered when Havertz went off and everything in front of him was very slow, because you had Thomas Müller, or the bones of Thomas Müller, in front of him.
Jeez.
You had Füllkrug in front of him, right? I think Yao's faster than Füllkrug. No disrespect, Yao. But Füllkrug was there just not really doing anything, and he needed a little bit more dynamism, and Musiala dropped back into a bit more of a central midfield role, so it just kind of negated what Wirtz could have done a little bit. But even with that, he was creating chances, he was creating attacks and keeping it going. So Germany will be fine. Germany will be fine. They'll be a threat on the world stage. They'll be a threat on the international stage. They'll win a couple of nation leagues. They'll qualify for tournaments. They'll get into the quarterfinals, semi-finals, as they usually do, once they put it all together. But it was disappointing to see my guy. And now the talk changes to what he's going to do in the summer. If I was a better man, I think he will stay at Bayern. I think he's going to re-sign. Not re-sign. I think he's going to sign an extension. And that's not necessarily insider information. Even though I'll speak to some of his camp or whatever.
Yeah,
I think it's more just nice. It's just I just think it's just a feel. It's just a feeling. I don't think Bayern can afford to let him go at this precise moment from a PR perspective. They just missed out on the league. They're now retooling. You lose Jamal Musiala, as the star boy of the German football team. you can't beat Bayern Munich and lose Jamal Musiala this summer. I don't think they're going to let it happen. I think they'll set the price tag that high where it won't happen. Because he's under contract. He's not got 1 year left, whatever. So I think he's got 2 years left, I think, something like that. So I think they'll negotiate something. They'll figure it out. They're getting Elise, they're getting a few players. You know, they'll put something around him to keep him sweet. And then we'll see what happens after that.
Good.
Can I ask something quickly, very quickly, Dave? Like, in your opinion, from a coaching perspective, why do you think Musiala didn't play well today? Do you think it was what was set up against him? Do you think his own personal performance was a poor one?
Yeah.
What do you think it was?
It was two things.
He doesn't have many bad games, and I actually think if you were to look, I don't know, I don't watch Bayern regularly, but generally when they are on the Champions League, I do try and lock in, or Germany in this tournament I've locked in, and he's been pretty impressive in, I'm going to say 90-95% of games I've watched. So teams might look at it and be like, is this how we set up to try and play, to perform against him, to set up, to negate the skills, the ability that he has, or was it just a bad day at the office, in your opinion?
Yeah. No, there's two things that I noticed when I was watching the game. So with Jamal, the way, not with him per se, but his best games is when the game's at pace, right? Yeah. If you notice in the first half when they had Emre Can on, they were playing so slow. The pace of the game was super slow, and he does this thing, right? The ball will come into him, he'll lay it off, and then he like ghosts into the half space, and all he needs you to do is just slip the ball into him, and then he goes off. He was doing that so many times, and he wasn't receiving that pass. And by the time he then got it, the space was closed down. Rodri was there, whoever else they had there, Fabian Ruiz was there, Carvajal was there, covering up those half spaces. So that was the first thing I noticed. And then in the second half, when they took off their wingers and replaced them with all these hybrid midfielders and false whatever they were doing, they just negated the central areas. Jamal likes to cut in from the wings and make these darting runs into the central areas. Who, little jinky. He's not going to take you down the touchline, really. So, and a lot of the German pattern of play with the 2-10s with Wirtz and Musiala is coming off those central areas. If you notice, there's one point I looked at it was very congested in the central areas from a Spanish perspective. And they did that, and they blocked off all the angles. So all he could do was kind of go in and make a pass back, and it just got really, really, really choppy. So I think a combination of that, and then he just didn't figure it out. He didn't figure it out quick enough, and he's going to have to do that. If you're going to be at the top of the game, think about prime KDB. Think about the best midfielders that we've seen over the past 5-10 years. A prime Pogba, for France or whatever. They figure out these blocks. They figure out these tactics. They just get it done against your better teams. Whether it be a Spain, the German, Belgium, whatever. When you're up against that, your peers, right, we gotta get it done, man. No excuses. That's why I wasn't hearing it in the group chat today when people are like, oh, he's tired or he's this, he's that. Bruv, I don't care how young you are, or whatever. You are who you say you are. You gotta get it done. And you didn't get it done today. It was poor.
Facts.
Very poor.
Facts.
Shout out to Olmo because Danny Olmo is an absolute baller.
Yeah, man.
Absolute baller, man.
He's one who's been like linked with bigger clubs than the clubs that he actually plays for at the point in time over the last couple of years. I remember before he joined Leipzig, he was linked with a move to Arsenal, a couple other places. I feel like he'll be one that'll be moving on to a big club. At least, I imagine in the next year and a half, 2 years, he won't be at Leipzig. He's a very stylish player, man. I think the numbers aren't there all the time, but if there's one thing that you want from someone who's playing in that role, you want efficiency and quality when they actually get on the ball. And I think he can deliver both those things to a really good standard. So I think he did well today. But I actually want to talk more on Leroy Sané, to be honest, because What the hell has happened to that guy? Yo,
Injuries.
please. What's
Injuries.
happened to him? Because
Injuries.
Cucurella had him in. Cucurella had that guy in Alcatraz for
Yeah, but
for pretty much the whole
the
game.
thing is,
And
yeah, a
then,
lot of people seem to forget, yeah, that he's had two
did he not?
big
Did you not
injuries.
have him in Alcatraz? Sorry to
Bro,
interrupt.
That's, I mean, that's
he
nasty.
did.
I didn't want to go back to it, but that's nasty what he just did.
He had
Man.
him
He
locked
did.
up,
He
man.
did.
Locked up, man.
He did,
Had
bro.
man like this, you know, whole irons. But no, no, it's the injuries. It's look, sometimes, especially players, wingers, that I'm not gonna say Sane relied on his speed, but his speed was a big part of his, ability. With the injuries, he's gonna lose a yard or two of pace. He's still a tricky guy, when he gets into full speed, but it's just difficult. You kind of have to go through maybe a season or two without any sort of setbacks, to kind of get back into a rhythm, because everything's changed. And unfortunately, even last season, he had a lot of disruptions, a lot of games that he missed due to injury. So, in the nicest way of putting it, I'm showing my age here, but the Power Ranger candle is burning out. Them powers are dying. Man are gonna need a new power coin soon, bro. Because it's long for my man. Can peak.
I couldn't believe it. And don't get me wrong. I think Cucurella, as much as I don't like what he served up at Chelsea, I think he's had a really good tournament. I think he's actually definitely been one of the best fullbacks this tournament. Not the best, but one of the best fullbacks this tournament. However, I just found it mad how Sane, you couldn't lay a glove. You couldn't lay a glove on him, and yet Wirtz came on and had this man twisting in and out, man, like twisting him up all over the pitch, bro. Like,
Trust me.
literally spinning him,
and he had him for pace.
spinning like a Beyblade, bro.
He had him for pace. He had him for pace.
Bro, yeah, he cooked him a couple times. So I feel like with Leroy Sané, it's sad to see, man. It really is sad to see because he was one of them wingers, like I would say 4 or 5 years ago, that I thought, yeah, within the next 4 years, this guy's gonna be top five wingers on the planet, easy. Like that's the trajectory he was headed to, and obviously he had that injury. It's been what, like 3 years since that injury, and we've not really seen a top Leroy Sané. Very inconsistent for his club, and very inconsistent for his country as well, man. It's not good to see. It's not good to see. But Tops, I want to, before we move off from this game, obviously we've spoken about Wirtz, the performance that he had. We spoke about Olmo. Talk to me about the midfield battle today, because it was kind of interesting, man. Andrich, I don't know why I didn't start him, because he came on and made such a big difference for them in the second half. Tony Cruz was chasing shadows in the first half.
Yeah, it was a real interesting one. Throughout this tournament, I feel that the Spain midfield has been very, very how can I call it? It's been extremely thorough. They have true hoopers in that midfield. They have a stalwart in Rodri. They have the very impressive Fabian Ruiz and Pedri, obviously before this injury, up against player of such star quality in Cruz, who's obviously ending his career after this tournament, and they've actually made it work with Andrich. I was really quite surprised today that they decided to use Chan. And in my head, I'm just trying to think what would have been the reason, because I don't think from a ball playing perspective would have been. I can only assume because of the physicality of Rodri and Ruiz that Chan would have been brought in. But like Dave said, it was so clear sometimes the game was run at such a slower pace with him, and then it put such a large defensive responsibility on Cruz. There were parts of the game where he looked out on his feet, and it improved, I think, a little bit when Andrich came on. It improved at times, but then he's very fortunate because at club level he has players like Valverde, Tchouaméni, Camavinga, who are happy to do the dog work. Let's call it dog work, the nitty gritty stuff, and he's quite happy to be the deep line playmaker, controls the tempo of the game. But today, because of how open the game was, you often found him having to cover large spaces, and obviously he was giving quite a lot of needless and silly fouls away. And it just didn't help that obviously Musiala was playing in a bit more of an advanced area, and obviously when Wirtz came on, it looked like it was kind of two tens. But then even at that point, it did feel like the game was stretched. The influence that Olmo had when he came on as well was also massive because it gave them another number. And obviously we know how technical the Spanish are, especially on the ball. I did feel that large parts of the game, though, even though I felt the game was very like nicely contested, large parts of the game, I did feel like Spain did have control of the midfield. I felt like Rodri, as much as I hate this guy, with his shirt tucked in and his socks pulled up high, the guy is incredible. He's absolutely incredible at his ability to
don't insult heritage wearing of football kit.
He's absolutely incredible
It's
at his
nasty.
ability to control games on and off the ball, to be able to influence others in the way that he plays. And even he carries that ability and almost that aura into international level. Like he's such a good player, and he's very, very good at what he does. Like, so I feel like today the midfield battle, it was a little bit unfair. I felt that they made the wrong decision by starting Chan, in my opinion. And Andrich did come on and actually improve it for them, especially once they had the numbers with Wirtz and Musiala in there. But I suppose you can kind of arguably say that in the end, because of that midfield sort of superiority, that was where the game was won, because they were able to have a player with the quality of Olmo to influence the game with a goal and assist.
Yeah, it was.
You know what the biggest travesty of international of football is at the moment? That a player like Rodri won't get any individual accolades because he plays a CDM role. Like he's not going to win a Ballon d'Or or whatever. Like he's such a good player, well, an all-time great player in some ways, but he's not going to get that recognition because he's not in the more like attractive positions on the pitch. Do you know what I mean? Like he'll win stuff obviously as a team, and we'll recognize him and whatever as footballers. But yo, that Donny man, he's so cold.
He's so good. He's so good. Man.
He's class. He's a world-class player. He's
a world-class talent, like absolute world-class talent, man.
I don't hate to do it because it is football. We're here to talk football. But again, at the time of recording, France have just knocked out Portugal on penalties. João Felix missed his penalty. Can't say I'm shocked. Can't say I'm surprised. But boy, I guess it's a nice segue. Let's talk France.
He's the nearly man.
Let's talk France, Portugal. You know what? I'm not even going to start off with the. You know what? I was going to start off with the good, but nah. Let's start off with the bad. Sorry, 2024, guys. We're in July 2024, guys, and Martinez kept a 39-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo on the pitch for 120 minutes. 120 minutes of football. Somebody talk to me, Yao. Talk to me. What is going on?
To me first, because I've got some information for you. Yeah, this is clearly one of those moments in life where, unfortunately, some of these, elder statesmen strikers, they haven't been watching my mixtape recently, because my mixtape is fire to bumperati, bruv. Yeah. When I say all types of goals, go check my resume. Go check the Vimeo. It's real serious out here. Bruv, it don't matter. Put it at the top of the sky, man will reach that. Little volley, man will hit that. Left foot, man will clap that. Right foot, don't matter. Semis, finals, man, it's all got that, bruv. It's all in the resume. So Ronaldo obviously today thought he could, he could just wheel it back. Brethren, you're 39 years of age, first and foremost. You've been playing football in a fake professional league. It's really semi-pro. Yeah, with bare, you know what? I'm not even gonna name the man that's on these teams. 90% of them are just reballs, just default players on PES and FIFA. It don't really matter. Bare Castellos and Hoylands. It don't make a difference. So he's not even playing at optimum. But the problem is, Ronaldo doesn't understand That's something there's nobody can outrun. Nobody can outrun this particular thing, including the Flash himself. And it's called Father Time. You can't outrun it, brethren. Yeah, sometimes you have to call a spade a spade.
Facts.
If you're not going to do the running, make sure that them young bucks can do the running for you. And when the chance comes, make sure you bin it, finish it, clap it. He had enough chances this tournament to get one goal, and he got none. This is one of those tournaments where Ronaldo, he didn't turn up for repping time. He had one of them nasty Kane runs.
This guy is just
another way.
Just got, England haven't even played it, and you cannot help us.
Yeah, get me, blood. It weren't ripping time at all. It weren't ripping time. But listen, he even had a chance in this game. He had a sitter.
Yeah.
Portugal should have won this game. Listen, if we're talking about chances created, forget even Ronaldo. If we're just talking chances created, Portugal should have won this game, but they didn't. And Ronaldo didn't do what a true leader of a team should do. You know, said, look, I can't be doing all of this like I did in my young time. Let these young bucks go out there, tire out our opponents, and then, you know, give me like a little half an hour or 45 minutes, and maybe we could do something. But no, Ronaldo has the main character complex, wanted to be the main man, and couldn't deliver. And now I think it's done for him. That he ain't going to, I've said it to bare people, he ain't going to the States. Write that off today. Yeah,
I don't think he's allowed, isn't it?
He will be arrested before he even gets off the plane. They will take They will take my man to the Rock. Yeah, he's going nowhere. Yeah, he can't go States. He most certainly can't go Mexico. The cartel will get him. And if he goes Canada, they're gonna put him on a bus from Toronto straight to New York, and it's a clappage, straight extradition. He can't go there, so it's done. Don't tell me about no 2028. We're not seeing Ronaldo playing in no tournament at 2028. This is his final one. He was a shambles of this tournament, by the way. Like, call a spade a spade. He was absolutely poor, very poor throughout this whole tournament. And he's played a lot of games, you know, but sadly, the legend is done. It's cooked, bruv. On a burn.
It's peak. It's peak. He's going outside, man. What's Jamie Carragher? Leave the football before it leaves you. Let's move on from
Carragher should have
Ronaldo.
left the football from the beginning of his career. I don't even know why he came up with such a great line.
Leave Carragher. Carragher was good. Let's leave Carragher. Carragher was good. But let's talk about the player who Ronaldo has seemingly passed the torch to, Kylian Mbappe. Obviously, a lot of people recognize Mbappe as the best player in the world. Certain men don't, and I have an argument with certain man every single day, it feels like, when we talk about Mbappe. But we have to talk about Mbappe's Euros performances. And Dave, I'm going to come to you on this as well, because it's another game, another poor performance from Mbappe. Some will talk about the comments, obviously, he had recently where he's spoken about the fact that he hasn't got a midfielder like Paul Pogba who can find his runs. Others have spoken about his occasional petulance when he doesn't really get the ball in areas that he needs. What's your assessment on Mbappe's performance this tournament, man?
He's a bit of a crybaby, if I'm honest. He's a bit of a crybaby. I find it hard to like his whole approach to football outside of, you know, on the pitch. You know, okay, I get what he does on the pitch, you know, the whole, you know, speed demon, you know, he's got his little finish that he does, whatever. But him as an actual person, I just find it just annoying. The whole PSG thing, tear down PSG. The whole comments about, you know, you're on the eve of this big game. You know, you've spoken about how much it's going to mean to you as a captain to win this tournament, and on the eve of a big game, you're literally telling your man them, you lot aren't good enough. Like, the reason why I've got to now adapt my game because my midfielders can't pass the ball. more than 5 yards. Like, you're either taking a shot at them or you're taking a shot at your manager for how he's setting up. Like, do you not think these things through? Like, you're not 18 anymore. Like, I don't know how old he is now. It's 24, 25? Do you know what I mean? He just comes across like a real petulant crybaby. And y'all may be able to help me out with this. I don't know how the Ghanaians say it. Is it Jaisa? Just stop crying.
It's Jaisa. Stop that.
Jaisa.
Just Jai.
Or as the West Indians say, stop your nose.
Stop it, bro.
Right? Stop your nose. Just come on, man. You need to produce on the pitch, because right now you're stinking. Yes, you got the face injury, rare. You know, you might be like Son. You know, remember when Son had the mask and then he scored and he took it off and he's like, yeah, it was affecting my peripheral vision and all that kind of stuff. Maybe that might be what the situation is, yeah. But for a player of that quality, I'm just thinking, what else are you adding? Where's your? I'm expecting you as if you are the best player in the world, you should have a level of aura about you that when you're on that pitch, it raises up everyone else around you, and it's not doing that yet. And I don't see that in the French team. I don't see enough of that. I'm seeing some very, very quiet games from this team as a whole, and they're really struggling to get through. It was 0-0 today, so they still haven't scored a goal from open play, have they?
Nope.
Yeah, no.
If they could have he might win this Euros the same way Ronaldo won the 2016 one, where they basically fluffed their lines all the way through to a final. He might get, with an injured superstar, and then all of a sudden we've got an asterisk against his name. That shouldn't be your legacy, brother. That shouldn't be what's on your resume. So there should be a bit of personal pride in there to go, look, okay, right, I'm into the quarterfinals, semifinals now, whatever.
Yes.
Now I need to come on. I need to put it right. I've got Spain to play. I think it's Spain that they got next, right? I thought today was going to be where we saw it, and that's what disappointed me when I was watching the bits that I saw. I thought today was going to be where we saw Mbappe turn around and say, okay, it's been a couple of games since the injury. I've got used to the mask now. I said my piece in the press conference. I'm going to rise it now because my team needs me. It's the quarterfinals. But it was so super quiet. I think he had, one shot on target. It was, nearly, it's just here and there. It just comes across real petulant, man. And I'm not feeling that. I can't accept that as the levels of, if this is the world's greatest, then, we're not in a good spot, man.
Yeah.
I think one thing that we do have to concentrate on also, I don't want to really say this because I know it comes off as an excuse, but it's true. A lot of these players look tired. The only thing that can't really save Mbappe in this is not the first Euros. Fine, he's got quite a good pedigree in the World Cup.
Yeah,
but this is not the first Euros where he's stunk. He's had previous Euros where he smelled like dog shite, absolute caca. Yeah, and the same goes for Ronaldo. These are meant to be, well, first and foremost, actually, let me bring this back because I only really noticed this today. Didier Deschamps, at some point, the French people need to drive up to his front door and drop a whole truck of manure outside his front house. Because how has this guy been allowed to be a manager for so long? Seriously. Like, he's made Mbappe the captain of France. Griezmann is still there, Yeah. It's disrespectful. It's very disrespectful. Somebody has to slap Didier for the nonsense he's done over the last 2 years. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Stupid. How can you have such a name like Didier be stinking up the place like this? Smells like garbage.
Bro. It's ridiculous. It's honestly a joke thing, bro. I'm so fed up of watching France at tournaments because I know what's going to happen. They're going to scumbag their way into a couple of games. They're going to hit teams with individual quality, and they're going to make it far in tournaments, right? You very rarely see France put the fear of God into teams unless the team's super duper crap, honestly. And what annoys me about him is that he's been blessed with the fact that he's actually had like some quality centre backs in his time managing France. So the foundations are always strong. If it's not Varane, it's a prime Umtiti. If it's not a prime Umtiti, it's a prime Konate. If it's not a prime Konate, it's a prime Saliba. Saliba's been fantastic for France this tournament. Absolutely fantastic for France this tournament. And you don't really see them give away lots and lots of chances in the game of football. So he's always got that to rest on. Like, and it's the same is embodied in his midfield options as well. His midfield options, they lock down the midfield defensively. So he's always going to have that to fall back on. But when it comes to what can you do as a coach to get your team to hurt teams, like bludgeon teams, Lele doesn't, he's not bothered in it. He's not bothered in it at all. And it really irks me. But back on the Mbappe point, you lot know me. I'm a huge Mbappe fan. Like I'll always defend him when it comes to claims about Champions League and stuff. But on Euros, the guy's got no leg to stand on. We can talk about France not having Pogba and stuff. Yeah, they don't have Pogba. Yeah, you're right. They don't really have someone who's going to cut teams open centrally anymore, or get the ball to the likes of Griezmann and Mbappe in good positions and stuff. Tough shit. What can you do in your individual actions when you get the ball? And Mbappe has not been good enough. He's been well below the levels, right? Because this is not the first time Mbappe's played against teams that set out to stop him doing what he does best. This is not the first time he's played in teams where he doesn't have all the pieces, right? But he just ain't delivered. He just hasn't delivered. Tops, I want to come to you and speak on Liao today, because Liao's one who's actually talk to me about Liao, because he's had a dodgy tournament, but today, boy, talk to
Liao, like, it's funny, listening to what everyone was saying in the group, the TLF group and stuff. I feel like he's a really polarizing character. And in many respects, I see why people think that, and I also don't see why people think that. You look at the guy; he's crazy athletic. He's got an amazing turn of pace. He's very, very good dribbler. And then there's times where you see the guy not in the game. You see the guy just kind of sort of jogging up and down that left-hand channel, not really super involved. But even though Portugal have gone out, at least he can say today, okay, I was able to show people a lot of what my ability is. And to be honest with you, he had Koundé on skates quite a lot today. I wouldn't say it was a super performance, but you definitely saw moments of extreme high level of talent, and I would say class from him. The one thing that always rattles me is that he may not be in the game, but if you give him the ball, all he needs to do is just beat his man. And 9 times out of 10, he has the ability, whether he needs to move infield to be able to beat his man, or whether he needs to take 2 touches, a quick dribble with his feet, and he's out on the outside. Like, when I was looking at profiles of wingers that we need to sign in terms of one-on-one, whilst it is not realistic for Spurs, when I look at in terms of what we need from that kind of a profile, he would be my perfect and my dream sort of signing. I feel that the price
profile.
I look at the
dream
price
signing with his work rate.
I look at the price tag, and I look at the way that we play in order to feed our wingers, and I think he would actually be very, very good for it. However, there is a lot of the other stuff, the cons of his game, that I think doesn't really work in our favor. He doesn't do much track. Doesn't do much.
He's lazy, man. He's lazy. Say
he is effectively.
Bruv, I watched him at the lane, bruv. I watched him at the lane when AC Milan played us. He was lazy, bro. I'm sorry.
And he was
playing like
from an output standpoint as well. He's not really worldly yet. I wouldn't even say he's even top 10 in terms of wingers in the world from an output perspective. So I can see I can see why a lot of people don't really look to him. And like I keep saying, he's extremely polarizing. I felt like today he was good, but again, up until this point in the tournament, I don't think he's been very good. So sometimes it really does depend. It's very black and white, Jekyll and Hyde with him. You don't really know what Liao you're going to get on the day. And he has the ability to create something from nothing, which I think is really important, especially as a winger, to have that ability to have some dynamism, some explosiveness,
Some
to be able to affect the game,
factor.
you know? Yeah, but sometimes at the top level, you actually more so than that, you need consistency and output. And I don't think he really has that.
You know,
at the moment.
today he cooked Kunde. Like, I remember I put in the chat, I said, do they have any other person they can sub on for Kunde? Because Kunde was getting absolutely...
He was getting rushed. Yeah, man.
Kunde got so twisted up. Bruv, I was going to say, Kunde got so twisted up, his hair went from afro to cornrows. Like, bruv, it was a madness. It was a madness, bruv.
That's a banger. That's the pod name right there. That's the pod name right there.
Yeah, it was a good, very good performance. And what I love about it, he plays, you know, like they say, he has a smile on his face. He has that. He loves to take on his man. He loves to, you know, to go do the 1v1, but he's not consistent enough. So
this is it.
We can stay in Italy for now, you know, because come to the Prem, you're gonna need 10 out of 12 games, you know, to be at that level. You know, you can't do 5 out of 12. Do you know what I mean? Like that block in between, what is it, November to February when there's no international games or whatever, and you got 5 games in 12 days or 5 games in 14 days around Christmas or whatever they do. All them madness there, bruv, I need you to be on point. So
100%. 100%, I'm with you.
We're getting our profiles right. Profiles, we need to make sure we're getting the right kind of player in. Do you know what I mean?
Speaking of profiles as well, man, like honorable mention before we move on to Tottenham, but I want to get you guys' thoughts on some of the defensive performances today. In fact, I don't even want to bucket it as defensive performances. Some of the performances from the defenders today, like I'm gonna throw some names at you because I want to hear the feedback. Because Nuno Mendes, I think he's been superb for Portugal this tournament. Theo Hernandez, I think he's been cold. Pepe, cold. Saliba, cold. Ruben Diaz, cold. Talk to me, man. Talk to me.
I think that's been the thing about the Euros, to be honest. Not many games have gone to 2-3 goals, I don't think, if I remember right. You're winning by 1 goal. And that might be in the from a substitute, when the game gets a bit into the deep end of the game. There's been not many lopsided games where teams run away with it. Obviously, Germany had one. I think Turkey, maybe 3-0 or something. But especially between the top teams, it's been the stalemates. They're not exciting to watch, but where you're looking at a back line and 3 out of those 4 players you're looking at going, they're in the top 2 or 3 in their position. And sometimes on the pitch, you've got the 2 best central defenders or the 2 best right backs that you can think of, in Europe, let's say. So the quality is definitely up there. And I was thinking about today when I was watching both games, I was like, even for different reasons, this is why they say it's harder to win the Euros than it is to win the World Cup, because of the quality you've got to get through. On like, if you think about that bracket, on that side of the bracket, opposite to England side, mate, you got to get through France, you got to get through Spain, you got to get through, just to get to the final. 100. And then when you get to the final, you might get a Switzerland who they're very organized, they're very, they got it all together. And I'm not saying Switzerland are my dark horses or favourites or whatever, but they're a very good team who may catch you on a bad day, or because you've had to put yourself through 3 games of extra time or whatever to get there, and they've had an easier path. You never know what might happen. So it's a very, very tough competition to win, I think, because of the defensive displays. And I don't like shouting out Arsenal players, but there is a player called William. He plays for the Red Team in North London. and he's what he's putting in
He's
some
he's
top
ridiculous, bro.
performances, yo. Like absolutely crazy. I think he's been the best defender in the competition by far.
He's been up there for sure.
Yeah.
Easily
So,
top 5.
Yeah. So it's that the whole immovable object type type thing, man.
Yeah, he's it's beyond the point of agenda now. Like he's just ridiculous. Like it's ridiculous how ridiculous he is as a defender, and it pisses me off. And I need him to leave Arsenal anyway. But speaking of Arsenal, let's move on to Spurs. Let's finish off with some Spurs news. Of course, the big signing that we made this week. Spurs locked down the move for Archie Gray, signed him from Leeds. Total package deal of around 35 to 40 million pounds. But of course, that was offset by Joe Rodon leaving to join Leeds for a fee reported to be in the region of 10 million pounds. So for all intensive purposes, we have paid we've paid 25 to 30 million quid net for Archie Gray. Who wants to go first? Because I'm not going to speak with any sort of expert opinion on the kid. I'm going to leave it to you, man, because you, man, have watched him more than me. And I'm actually going to go straight to you, Tops, because you said in your words, I am moved. This moves me. So tell us why you're moved.
Yeah,
please
man.
tell us. Tell us
why you're moved.
Tell us why. I want positive.
Exactly. Tell us why an 18-year-old who cost 35 million quid, right? Yeah. And I'm not taking a piss out of him. I'm just calling it as it is, black and white, 35 million quid. Give us the reason why you are moved.
Well, like one of the biggest reasons I'm moved is because I think genuinely he is one of the best English talents that we've produced probably in the last 5 to 8 years. I feel like a player of his age, a player of his style, we have actually been very, very lucky to be able to secure this deal for a player of this quality. If we're talking about it, first of all, from a tactical perspective, we're talking about a player who has operated as a 6, as an 8, largely for Leeds, but also has operated as a right back. Last season at Leeds was his first complete season as a professional in his professional career, in which he played 44 games, 44 appearances, had 40 starts, ended up finishing the league. Although they didn't get promoted, he finished the season as the Championship Player of the Year. He finished as Leeds Apprentice of the Year and Leeds Young Player of the Year as well. So this is a player that I think has lots of real qualities. One thing that Ange said when he first came to Spurs and he was talking about Sarr was that Sarr can play 6, Sarr can play 8, Sarr can play 10. And the good thing about Sarr is that Sarr has the ability to be maneuverable, but he has real good work ethic.
Sorry, I'm just going to stop you right there. Sarr absolutely cannot play 10. Just wanted to.
Oh no! This is
abundantly clear.
Yeah, this is what. Okay, this is what Ange said. This is what Ange said. He has real good work ethic, and he has the ability to go to the top. And whilst we've obviously seen that Sarr has played in the role he has, I kind of feel that we have signed this player with the idea to be able to maneuver and mold him into the position that we would like him to play. The position that he has largely played for Leeds mostly this season is central midfield. And I think that is essentially where we will try and look to play him. He has played largely in a double pivot with this German fella in midfield under Fark. And honestly, I am not like unhappy that we've made this move. I feel like it makes a lot of sense for us from a homegrown perspective. But I really do believe that we've signed one of the best talents in England at this moment for less than 50 million. And whilst I don't expect him to be a starter, I do largely expect him to be involved in a lot of games and a lot of first team action next season. I feel like he will be very positive in his deputizing. I think as a right back, if we need for Porro, although he'll be a different profile, but I think largely he probably will be shepherded as a 6 or a long-term 6 for us next to maybe Bentancur or Bissouma. In terms of the price, I don't think it's like I feel this is what you have to pay for talent. And whilst it might seem like a lot, I feel like at this point, you're more likely paying for potential. The one thing that I do think is very reasonable is that, like, if you look at players who are, in my opinion, seen as better than him or who are at the same age level as him, you're looking at someone like Warren Emery Zaire, who is like 3 or 4 days younger. And if he was to be sold, although he's played Champions League and plays starting for he plays for France and everything, he would also go for very, very similar and if not more money. So the fact that we've been able to get him at this rate, I think is a very, very good deal. It makes a lot of sense for Leeds. It made a lot of sense for us. There's lots about his game that I think is very positive. I feel like he's extremely technical. He's extremely positive on the ball. I don't think he's as progressive as he probably would want to be. I think he still has lots to learn in his game because he is quite young. I feel like he needs to improve in his physicality. I still feel like he needs to improve a little bit on his ball recoveries, just because I think being that age, he is quite naive. He hasn't scored a professional goal yet, but he has provided assists from right back, which were the only assists that he provided last year. And I think from a bigger picture perspective, I feel like he covers a number of different roles. And whilst his experience level will increase in the league, I feel that we have really signed a player of real quality. I think a player that will play for England in the future. I really do mean this. And I watched a number of games of his last season, but the one game that did stand out to me was the game at Chelsea in the Carling Cup. And I just felt that he didn't look out of place. Chelsea played pretty much, I would say, a first/second team that day. And although they lost that game, they pushed them very, very close. And Gray was one of the standout figures in that match who looked very, very comfortable at that level. So considering this is a player who is honestly playing his first year of professional football at Leeds, having played more than 40 games or having more than 40 appearances, for us to get us at the rate that we did, I think is a very positive thing. The only thing I'm interested to see is where we play him and how we play him because of the competition that we have, especially in midfield.
Yeah, and I think that's an open debate for all of you, man, as well. The one thing I will add on Gray is the only game I've watched of his. In fact, I've watched 2 games of his. I watched the Chelsea game where I thought he was good, and I watched the Leicester game where I think they came back from behind to beat Leicester. I think it was like 4-2 in the league, and I think he scored a deflected goal in that game. He was decent that game. I'm going off what others are telling me and the research. And what I will say about Gray is the mass outpouring of praise that Spurs have had for this deal is scary. Like, genuinely, I've not seen, and I wasn't on Twitter in 2015, so I could only go through word of mouth. But I remember when we signed Dele in January 2015, word of mouth, there was a lot of praise given to Tottenham to get this guy at 5 million in January. This summer now, I think, I'm not going to lie, even with the Joe Rodon offsetting the cost, you make a good point on players of his supposed talent level, they'd cost more money. But I still think it's quite a chunk of money to spend. But the amount of people are saying not only is this a snip, but that we've signed pretty much a gem, one of England's gems, is telling. And this is from rival fans, this is from Spurs fans, this is from neutral fans, literally every single type of fan who has some sort of vested interest in football that actually watches the Championship are raving about how good a signing this is. So I'm hoping it's a sign of things to come. And I'm really hoping that we can get some impacts next season, because whilst I'm with you on the point in which you're paying on potential and stuff, I'm also with Dave. when he was talking about Musiala and how if you're ready, you're ready. If the club are
Mm-hmm.
putting trust and faith in you, I want to see something, right? I don't think Spurs. It's mad because we've got all these young players coming through, and I'm going to touch on the midfield composition with yourself and Yao, Dave. But we've got all these young players, yet I don't know about you, man, but my expectation is not dipping. I want us to be able to give these man minutes, but I also want to see some serious players come into this club and actually lift Spurs and get us moving. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Dave, and to Yao. Talk to me about where you see this midfield ending up then, because Gray's been signed. He's probably going to play midfield a couple of games. Bergvall's now officially a Tottenham player, officially a first-team Tottenham player as of 1st of July. Skip potentially out the door. Højbjerg leaving. Lo Celso leaving. Don Lee potentially going out on loan. Where do you see this midfield heading? Not just this upcoming season, but I'm talking the next 2 to 3 years.
On the first day of the season, I see Maddison, Bissouma, and Sarr starting. I see Bergvall coming off the bench to replace Sarr. Depending on whether we spend 50 million up front with a 68 million overall release clause trigger to get Eberechi Eze in, he may also be knocking around. But let's say whether we do or don't, I do feel like Bergvall is going to be competing with Sarr, and I feel like Top said, Archie Gray is going to be competing in that 6 role, primarily with Bissouma. Bentancur, it's going to be very interesting to see how he fits in, whether and sees him as a 6 or an 8. And loves players that have multiple profiles, because obviously it helps you from a squad perspective that you don't have to go out and buy 25 different players who can play in 25 different roles. It helps you maybe go with a squad of 22 when they can play across different roles. But I feel like that's where Bergvall's going to sit in, and where Archie Gray can sit in. Now, looking at some of the younger kids, the ones coming through, I feel like you'll see Tyrese go out on loan, and Jamie Donnelly will go out on loan, I reckon. Mikey Moore is the interesting one that we need to keep an eye on. It'll be very interesting to see how Mikey Moore develops over pre-season. Because if he had a very strong pre-season, I reckon we may see him stick around. Now, in another group chat I'm in, this is a very contentious position. But having watched him, and you know me, guys, I was watching like every game in the under-17s. Like, I watched him as much as I could. And seeing how he's actually very similar. He played very similar to how Eze plays, in the sense of he's playing on that left wing. He's picking up the ball, he's dribbling, he's driving with it, he's creating, he's getting assists, taking on players, he's taking risks. I don't know. We're seeing that, players. And has already come out and said that he's wants to give him a chance in and around the first team squad. But also there are reports that other clubs are swooping around. They're looking, because he hasn't signed his contract yet. He doesn't sign it until his 17th birthday, which I can't remember when that actually is.
It's very soon.
But it is coming up soon. So we do need to probably give him a bit of guarantees and some kind of incentives, as it were. And I think even if it is keeping him for 6 months to get him through those early parts of the Europa, you say, right, we're going up to play FC Damsgaard, right? We'll give you, you're playing 60 minutes against them with Bergvall and Bissouma in a midfield, or not saying that's going to be a midfield composition, but in that kind of team where you've got a bit of experience, a bit of youth, whatever, and he gets that exposure, and then maybe in January we say, right, we send you out on loan. Maybe we keep him ticking over so he signs that contract, and then we can see develop him from there. I'm very excited to see what Bergvall can do. Obviously, watching him over the past few months. Again, we're signing players who are not afraid to take risks going forward. Even Archie Gray, as much as he's a defensive-minded player, you watch him in the game against Chelsea, you watch him in any of his highlights, watch him in any of his games, he receives the ball and he's immediately thinking what he can do with it going forward. He's immediately thinking how he can progress the play, how he can build a platform for his team to get forward. He's not regressive, and I think the money we spent is money well spent. If he pans out according to 2/3 of his talent, then you're looking at a player who would go to a Brentford, and Brentford would be trying to sell him for 80 million in 2-3 years' time to us. Or he goes to a Villa, whether he's worth it or not, that's the price tag that they would be putting on him, because they know that a bigger club who's in the Champions League or whatever will be trying to get him. Do you know what I mean? Like how Villa did with Jack Grealish, because he'd be their best player in 2-3 years' time. So Brentford with Tony, Grealish at Villa, Eze at Palace, he would be that kind of player for those kind of clubs. So if we let him go to Brentford, we'd be paying a premium on him in 2-3 years' time. So it's better that we've got him in now. If he gets to that 80 million type bracket in a few years' time, great, fantastic. If he doesn't, then we've only spent 35, 40 on it, and then we go again. But I do think he's going to trend in the right direction. And it's exciting that we do have these young players who want to commit to trying to build something and change the fortunes around. And I think one thing you always notice, young players play without fear, and they don't have the stain of our history in that sense. They come in and they go, right, we're starting from scratch. You know, they're not players who are 26, 27 and they're just here for a payday. You know, there might be a bit more investment where they're going to try to build something in their own image in that way. So let's see what happens. But I'm excited to see what attacking options look like going forward, especially if we do get some of our targets in that have been mentioned.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. It's exciting times, but my excitement is capped to a certain percentage because it needs to be backed up by some
I don't like
serious
this. I don't like this. I don't like the fact that your excitement is capped. Yeah, we've gone through 4, maybe 5 seasons of having to accept your garbage at our club, our lovely club.
My garbage.
You have to accept some of your
wait till I deal with you.
Players, yeah, some of your nasty, absolute dog shite players at our club. We have finally got to a point where we are almost rid of the crud that you have infested onto us. Yeah, your Vikings. Yeah, that we left the stadium and we kicked down the stairs to get out of our flipping club. Finally, we have some new plants coming through, and you're there saying, "Oh, my excitement is capped. My name's Tobias, and my excitement is capped."
My excitement is capped.
Get excited.
My excitement is capped. I'll tell you why my excitement is capped, because I still don't see a bad boy attacker. I still don't see a bad boy striker. I still don't see the competition for Porro.
I mean, you don't see a bad boy attacker because one of your favorites is still there, hanging on for dear life.
Okay, and one of your favorites is still there, like clinging around like a bad smell at the back. He plays right back. He still gets a fucking Mohican. He still gets a Mohican. What 26-year-old? What 26-year-old person do you see getting Mohican haircuts? Mohican haircut, bro.
If you had a whole cranium of hair, you would have had a Mohican haircut.
Years of age. This is Yowski. Is this your king? Is this your king? 26 years old and he's donning Mohicans. Is this your damn king? Oh, he can defend. He can defend.
You know what?
It's like your other Bridget Johnson is dry. All your bridges
are dry. What do you mean my bedroom? That's your guy. How dare you? How dare you call Brendan Johnson my brethren? Are you mad?
No.
You know what? It might be a right back thing, you know. It might be a right back thing because Kunde with his afro / cornrows and Emerson with his Mohican. Every crazy right back. Every crazy right back has a crazy hair.
You know what, y'all? Let's actually get back to the serious chat. So let's actually talk about the attack, because we've been linked to, obviously, Paul O'Keefe said that there's an opportunity for Spurs to go in for both. Is it Desire?
Yeah, Desire, yeah.
Zaya Dewey or Pedro Neto or both. And again, I'm not gonna lie, I've not watched a single full 90 minute of this Desire kid, but every single clip, compilation, highlight reel, chunk of performances, everything I've seen about this kid, this guy looks like an absolute demon, bro. He looks like a demon.
So you're saying that it's either or both?
No, he's saying that there's a chance that Spurs could get both. Spurs could move for both. Sorry, Spurs could move for both. So where do you stand on those two players that I've just mentioned? And going forward, what are you after for Spurs to actually do with our attacking conundrum once the Euros is over?
So first and foremost, I hope anyone that's close to Daniel Levy is listening to this podcast, because this is serious. This is deadly serious. Yeah, Daniel, this is your final summer, because after this summer, if you don't sort it out, I promise you somebody's gonna find you. Yeah, like this is now an out and out guarantee somebody's gonna find you, because we've actually had enough. This is not one of those one where it's one or two, might go for the cheap option. Brethren, get both. Until Johnson, until Richard, their time is up. I don't care how you want to give them their P45 or P60, but tell them their time is up. That Desire, we have to get him for two reasons. If he plays on the left and we play Destiny, then we got Destiny and Desire. It just works.
That's actually kind of mad. Yeah.
It sounds good. It just sounds correct.
That's the pod name.
Yeah. It sounds good. It sounds correct. If he plays on the right, we got some swiggly, some suckly blow on the right hand side, and he's black French. Now, for the people that are listening here, I know that might sound a bit racist, but I'm going to break it down to you. Black French wingers, they are not afraid of nobody. They take on everybody. It don't matter if it's your mother, your grandmother, your grandfather, your father, your bloodline, your former bloodline. They take them on. They don't care. They will fight them all the way. That's why we like black French wingers. They fear nobody. In fact, I don't even think they fear God. This is the honest truth. They will attack anybody. It don't matter whoever the fullback is, they're going after them. You don't believe me? Go check Dembele. He's been attacking people all his life. The only problem is he can't score. Such is life. But I do want this. All I've seen is the compilation. I haven't seen none of his games, but I'm sold. Yeah, call me a YouTube, whatever you want. Bring this kid to the lane right here, right now. Please, there's no second thought. Neto, I don't think people are gonna like what I'm gonna say here.
I think I'm with you, to be honest.
I'd actually rather Eze.
Yes.
Neto's. I think they're gone. He's cold, but I don't want to risk it, because they're gonna ask us for like 50 mil. And our training program, I can see his hamstrings being gone by the end of August, and then we've got him for nothing. So it's Eze for me.
Pause. Answer this question though. This is a good super chat from Shafay. He says, "Would you guys give up on getting Eze if it meant we got Dewey and or Neto?" So let's scratch the or. Right, let's scratch the all. If you were able,
the only way you can give up Eze is if you get the two of them. But I'm sorry, guys.
No, I wouldn't.
No,
I wouldn't.
I'm sorry,
I wouldn't.
That's the only way you can accept it.
And I've already
stop that, because Eze is not your brethren. Eze is not your brethren. Stop this.
I want to hear him. I want to hear him out. Let's hear him out.
Because he's gonna back Eze.
Let him cook.
I've already said I'm not willing to give up on Eze, because they're saying or Neto, and we're now saying or Dewey and Neto. No. The reason I don't want another person that isn't Eze is because we already know that he wants to use. He now knows that he cannot use Kulusevski as a winger. He's going to use Kulusevski as a replacement for Maddison, which, in my opinion, doesn't make any sense, because whilst he is marginally good, his output still stinks, and he's not very good. So why don't we just get a player who we actually know is very good, can play in a number of different positions at a high level, whilst also securing an actual winger? This notion of trying to work around what is essentially what we need is crazy to me. Like, I'm sorry. it's so
what's
clear.
Eze's middle name? Does anybody know? Is it Topai? Is it Patrick? I just want to know what the link is here. Yeah, because he's doing dossiers for Eze. Yeah, and don't get twisted. I want Eze. I do want Eze. Yeah, but I want to know. I want you to tell the people why.
I told you, man. Yeah, like when I look at Eze, I see a player who is on a fantastic trajectory, a player who is of exemplary quality, can play a number of different positions, has been able to actually lead a team, an inferior team, whilst being able to add goals and assists. This is a player who would change a lot of different things in the way that we attack. This is a player who can play in a number of different positions at a high level. The fact that he's now even got into the England squad is even better for us because it's now improved his profile. This is also a player who is English, which would improve our homegrown quota. The money that needs to be paid for this guy needs to be paid. Like, I need people to understand. People were so happy to pay whatever we paid for Kulusevski and play Kulusevski in the role that he played last season. But Kulusevski has done everything and nothing. He has played in that position. He hasn't scored goals. He hasn't provided assists. He hasn't even played well. His PR is in the bin. And people are now saying, oh, well, you can't buy Eze because it's 50 million and, you'll be having the same issue. No. Because if you're going to be willing to accept Kulusevski on the right, who doesn't provide any goals and doesn't provide any assists and generally has had a poor performance level for, let's call it what it is, 18 months, why am I not going to sit here and be like, there's a player who's English, who's a bit older than him, that is an international, that plays internationally, has a number of goals and assists at this level for an inferior side, to possibly play on the other wing or in the middle as preference to Maddison. And people are saying no. That doesn't make any sense to me. This is a deal very similar to the Maddison deal that we just have to get done. We have to get it done. It doesn't make any sense not to. And if we're willing to sit here and be like, oh well, then let's think about maybe getting Due, who I really want, and maybe Neto, who potentially might not be. Tell me now, how much are we spending? How much are we spending on Neto? Tell me now. I'd like to know. How much are we spending?
Neto's not leaving Wolves for anything less than 55 to 60 million.
There you go.
And for me,
I think it'll be 50 for Neto. And if it's 50, I am with Tope. You do have to go and get it.
Plus, we're hearing all the positive things from Dave's links and what he's hearing in the background regarding Eze. And I also think the Due deal is a very good deal for us because we have very good links with Rennes. We've sent Jed Spence there. We've sent Joe Rodon there, and they seem to want to work with us. Why not use that to our advantage to be able to push that deal through, get it done, and then whatever money that we can generate, slap it on Everechi. Slap it on Everechi. I can't lie, to be honest. At the end of the day, one of the biggest things that we have actually had problems with is not even about our ability to build. It's not even about our ability to be able to keep the ball. What has been the biggest one clear issue with our team under Ange is our ability to attack effectively and efficiently. Our attackers cannot retain the ball in the final third, and our attackers are not incisive and effective enough to kill games off. You suddenly buy players like Eberechi Eze and Desire Due, all of a sudden, your attack with a player like Son and even with Richarlison, your attack looks completely different. Completely different. I don't understand why this is such like. I don't think there should be like any debate on this. There should be no debate on this, in my opinion. I think this should be a deal, which I think the club is trying to do. We should be pushing for this because these are the kind of players, in my opinion, that take us to the next level. These are, I think, within our price range, that I think are deals that are doable. I think these are players that take us to the next level, in my opinion.
Yeah, this morning you were depressed. Bruv, listen, yeah. July 5th. Let's see when England get knocked out tomorrow, we'll see what happens, yeah?
I'll be there. I'll be there. I'll be there. Dave, I will be there.
See what happens, yeah?
I'm already there.
I'll be honest. I think it's a deal that we are going to work hard to get to get done. It's clearly that we are interested in as a strong interest. I think we should get it done. For me, it's it's the one deal that we should be prioritizing, especially above Neto. Neto's injury record is scary. I don't think he's ever going to beat that. And I think in our system and with the amount of games we're going to play next year with Europa or whatever, it's just going to be carnage. Do you know what I mean? And we're challenging at a different end of the table to where Wolves are, respectfully. Wolves are always punching. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're trying to re-establish ourselves, if we be honest, re-establish ourselves as a top 4 club, where every game matters. We can't drop 5 games. You know, we do that and we suffer. Do you know what I mean? So we need our best players to be available for the majority of the season, even if it is from a squad capacity standpoint, where we need you to come off the bench and give us a goal to win us the game away at Brighton, away at Newcastle. You know, so we can't have you, missing 10 games or whatever the case may be. So I think having Eze in and around the squad is a better option. And if we get Doué as well, go for it. Because again, profiles. I need some players who can just stand the man up, look him in his eye, and say, "I'm going to get to that byline. You can't stop me."
Thank you.
Like Leonard.
You put your low block there. Put your low block there. Fine. And you know what I said to my brethren earlier today? I said, because we were debating about the Richarlison, should we sell him? None of us want Richarlison to stay at the club, right? But he probably will. He probably will.
Sack him.
He's probably not going to get sold.
Sack that ball fraud.
Yeah, calm down. Yeah, Tanase. Yeah, take several seats. Sit down, brother. Yeah. Anyway, the thing is with Richarlison, yeah, you know what he's going to turn into? Giroud in the France team. You know, when man just eating off all the quality around him, just it's not. He's going to get double-digit goals, not because he's that good, but just because he's just going to be feeding. The chance is going to be there. The crosses are going to be there. The through balls or whatever. He's going to get that chance creation. So, listen, let's see what happens. It's about raising the floor. It's about bringing that feeling back, as Tops has been saying in the group chat for forever. And we'll go from there. This guy and these boys to men jokes is hilarious. Dr. Truman, sorry, for those who can't watch it, Dr. Truman said, "Who let boys to men have a Zoom account?" And he said, "Bend the knee to get a team." Hilarious. I'm finished.
Top work. I think we're going to sign out, to be fair, but before we sign out, just one last question, and I'm going to pose it to, and you have to answer the question. I'm going to time it. You have to answer it in no more than a minute and a half. So whoever wants to pick it up, Alozi says, what role do you think Sam plays next season? So who wants to take that?
If I'm being really, I'll go first, and then Dave. I know Dave's going to finish with something comprehensive, well thought out. But if I'm being brutally honest, I think he starts the season probably as one of the starting players. I don't really want him on the left, but if anything up top, and then when it gets to the more heavy parts of the season, so your November down to November to February, I think he should start coming off the bench or being used in a rotational sense. Only problem is he's our captain, and he might have to, I see Ange giving him more time than he needs to. But Son can't be our starting left winger, but he definitely can be our deputy 9, or fight that out with Richarlison if we don't get an actual out and out number 9. That's it for me.
Facts. Agree.
I'm gonna throw almost not a spanner in the works, but I just want to put this out there. Taking it back to the Man City game when we played 2 up top with Maddison in the kind of false 9-10 role, I think you'll see a lot more of that from Son next season. So whether it's left wing, whatever you want to call it, I think we're going to see a few more iterations of that. And if you look at the players we're being linked with, these Ezes, even the Doués who can kind of play in that playmaker role, I think you're going to see a few more of those kind of lineups where we actually change our attacking approach slightly to be a little bit less formulaic, with a 3 across the front when it might be a 2 with 1 behind, and Son will be in that 2. So he'll definitely be starting for me majority of the games, but in terms of tactically, I think we may see a slight shift because that got the best out of him, and we started seeing what we've seen from him for his whole Spurs career, which is him running onto the ball in behind. Obviously, he missed against Man City, and we all thank the Lord because it meant there was no parade in our city. But we saw his kind of best attributes come to the fore. I think we're going to see a little bit more of that next season. And long may it continue. May it reap a 20-goal season in the league.
Well, yeah, I'm with you guys. Just to sum it up, I'm not really too fussed whatever role he plays next season, provided he's not getting a lion's share minutes. But I'm very happy to keep Son in this team because it will never not be, it will never be an issue to have someone who's capable of scoring goals out of nothing the way he can and to tuck chances. So anyway, that's it from us. Yao, Dave, Tops, thanks for taking the time out of your busy Friday evenings to chop it up. For those who have been listening or watching, make sure you follow us in all socials, New Spurs, all the one word, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter. Similarly, make sure you follow us on Touchline, Fracas's main social media handles on TikTok, on Instagram, on X or Twitter. It's one word, Touchline Fracas. We'll be back, no doubt, tomorrow. There'll be another episode of Eurofracas because we'll be covering the England game. And then the main pod will be recorded on Sunday, out on Monday. So, yeah, keep rocking with us. Take care, peace out, and enjoy your weekends.
Peace.
Bye.
Peace.